Hello everyone, Mario Velasco, owner broker for EP Start Realty. And today we're going to be looking at the buyer's temporary residential lease. And you can also find this form on your SIF forms as TREC 16-6. Now, this form is simply you have a buyer and a seller under contract, and the buyer needs to lease the property before closing. So in that case, you will need this form, the buyer's temporary residential lease. One thing that is very important to notice is that these can only be done for 90 days. Okay. Now, one thing to tell you is we're not going to go into detail on every paragraph. You can do it on your own, read it, be familiar, so you can present it to your client. We're gonna be just going in to fill in the blanks. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Paragraph 1 is the parties and this lease. Now, the buyer and the seller are no longer buyer and seller. They're gonna become landlord and tenant. In this case, in the first line, you're gonna fill in the landlord information. In this case is the seller, and the tenant information, who is the buyer. Okay, on paragraph 2, it's you're gonna fill in the property address. Paragraph number 3, it is the date when this lease agreement is gonna start. Of course, you have to consider that this contract is going to terminate once this property closes. Okay, moving on to paragraph number 4. On the first line, you're going to write down how much is going to be charging rent per day. Now, since we know when this contract is going to start, and we know the contract is going to end when this property closes, and this line we're going to add the total amount of rent that is to be paid by the landlord, who's the buyer. Okay, moving on to paragraph number 5 is the deposit. If there is a deposit that's going to be charged by the landlord, this is where you're going to write it down. Okay, now if there is utilities, just like any other lease, the tenant shall pay all the utility connections. If there is any utility that is not going to be paid by them, then you list them in this line, number 6. Okay, if there is any pets that are going to be included on the lease, you can include them here on number 8. Okay, moving on, special provisions, paragraph 11. If there is something that you need to add to the lease agreement that is not mentioned anywhere in these paragraphs of this contract, you can add it here in special provisions. Okay, moving on to 19. Holding over the property. That means if the for some reason the tenant stays more than the time that is stated in this contract, let's say that the closing date moved for some reason, then this is where you write down how much, what's the additional rent per day to be paid by the tenant for holding over the property. Okay. Okay. At the end of the form, you have the landlord. You're gonna fill in all the information for the landlord, and landlord is gonna sign. And over here, you're gonna fill in all the information of the tenant, and tenant is gonna sign this form. Very simple form, and but it's very important when you are doing when you're in a contract when the buyer is gonna lease the property before closing. Okay. So I hope this is helpful to you. I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions regarding this form, you can call me at 915-329-5829. If you are an agent from another brokerage, you can contact your broker for any questions. Again, thank you for your time and see you in another video.